Hello.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm very well, thank you.
I'm Wolf Price.
I'm Candidate.
Candidate. Welcome, Candy. How are you?
I'm very well.
I'd like to introduce you, to our colleague here, Mr. Harry Quantz.
Oh yes.
GCHQ Architects.
Yeah, I'm not the GC, I'm the HQ, yeah.
Harry,
How do you do?
Candy.
How do you do?
Would you like a glass of water? It's not shabby in here, sadly, but...
No, I'm all right at the moment, thank you.
Well, you don't mind if I... well, I've got the cigarettes out at least anyway. I'll just have a little drink. Do you want a drink?
I'll stick with the water, thanks.
Okay.
Yeah, thanks, Harry. I think we had a bit too much last night, didn't you?
I don't know how to speak for yourself. Well, I'll leave you to go on this one. We ought to start with PDR apparently, yeah, but I'm just going to look at your exam paper here.
So how are you, Candy?
I'm very well today, thank you.
We've been looking at your case study and your work. It's all very impressive. We're just wondering, the PDRs, was that they were all signed off by women, weren't they? That was something you commented on, Harry.
Yeah, you're probably right. I can't remember now. Yeah, most of them signed off. Yeah.
Have you ever worked for a man, Candy?
I have worked for a man, but with regard to your comment about my PDRs signed off by women, that is the case, but I should point out that they are all qualified architects, and as such, I don't think the point you're making is at all relevant.
Oh, Candy, I'm not, I'm not making any judgment about this. I was just wondering, this is a man's game, and well, you're obviously a lady in what's considered a man's game. Let's put it that way, generally. And I wonder how you feel about that. What do you feel about your position?
I feel much the same as any other person who's worked in the construction industry for a reasonable length of time, I believe. I don't see there's any difference between male and female in that respect.
Obviously not, Ken. No, we weren't trying.
Provided you have the right sort of characteristics and abilities, which aren't confined to one sex or the other.
And I'm sure you have the abilities. I'm sure you do. Let's move on to what should we talk?
Well, just on the PDR, really, we ought to just ask you some questions about that. I suppose apparently it's supposed to take 5 minutes to ask you questions about the PDR, which I find quite difficult. I'm more interested in the exam paper, but we'll get onto that later. The PDR. So you did work for a man once, I seem to remember. Was they all women? Anyway, there's a name there that I recognise as a male architect. What was that like?
It was fine most of the time, although he was fairly irritable, shall we say.
Irritating or irritable?
Irritable.
But surely everybody's got the right to be irritable.
It depends
especially if they're the boss.
It depends on the level of irritability, I think, but I'm not sure this is particularly relevant to the Part 3 exam, the characteristics.
Well, it's got to do with team dynamics, I guess. I mean, it's known that Harry's a bit of an irritable.
Aren't you an irritable person?
No, not usually, and I do try and restrain myself in terms of work in order to achieve the best results.
So you're unrestrained in other circumstances outside work?
I don't think my characteristics outside work are of any relevance, but I wouldn't describe myself as an irritable person.
Would you think that other people find you irritating?
That's up to them. Well, you have to act honestly and with integrity.
What's the difference between integrity and honesty then?
I think integrity goes further than honesty. It means that, in the different ways in which you act, you aim to do, the right thing, the correct thing.
So being economical with the truth shows a lack of integrity?
Yes.
Even if you don't tell lies?
Yes. What I'm saying is that all of the truth is not necessarily needing to be revealed to all persons at any time. it may not be to their disadvantage. It may just be that for some reason your client has a need for confidentiality.
Even in the public sector.
Yes,
Especially in the public sector, I can tell you.
That's not necessarily the case, but
I just wondered if you'd ever had a job where the client really hadn't wanted to take possession of the building after you and the construction industry had finished producing it.
I've never been in that
Do
situation.
you think architects find themselves in that situation very often?
I think it's possible. I wouldn't like to say whether it happens very often or not. I would think it happens where the client maybe doesn't give a clear enough brief, or the architect can't extract a clear enough brief, so the client doesn't know what they're getting and then gets something they don't think they want.
What do you think? Well, have you had problems like that with jobs that clients didn't want after you've done them?
Well, I think the client, usually the client comes to me and he's very happy. And I think it's good that you haven't had any of these problems. I don't see why an architect should have these problems. So I just want to talk. Where do you see yourself in a few years' time? What are you looking to do? Are you looking to set up for yourself, or?
That's a possibility. At the moment, I'm enjoying the opportunity to work on socially useful buildings such as schools.
So you see yourself as a service provider? Is that where you are? Is that where you kind of place yourself in the spectrum?
Yes, I think architecture is a service, and you need to try and produce things that serve the needs of the client.
That. Just a second. It's quite important. I might have to.
Okay, well, I'll carry on while you take the call. What do you thought of this piece of concrete? You without a clerk of works, would you know how to approach the quality of concrete that you see here?
Well, that's a very interesting sample. I don't actually believe it's concrete.
What do you think it is then?
Well, some time ago I worked on a school project in Hertfordshire, and the town that the project was
That's a nice piece
for
of concrete.
had a fine example of Hertfordshire pudding stone displayed in the main street, a large piece. And when it's cut through, it looks remarkably like that, because as you can see, the stones are not crushed as normal concrete aggregate would be. So, yeah, I don't actually believe it's concrete.
Looks like concrete to me. Is it concrete?
Well, it looks like very bad concrete to me, but it was just lying around, and I might have been wrong to assume that it was a piece of very badly sort of mixed concrete, or like the recipe's wrong because the stone hasn't been crushed. But we'll leave that.
Excuse me.
I wasn't going to light it, so I just wanted something to play with. I haven't got any toothpicks, so I thought I'd have a cigarette.
Right.
All right, I'll put it away if you don't like it. There'll be time to smoke it between candidates.
Where is she?
Statement of experience and intent. We got through that now. Yeah.
Well, yeah. I see kind of this idea that you're very.
Would you call yourself a blue stocking?
That's a very old-fashioned and rather sexist phrase, which I wouldn't use
But
to
I mean,
describe
top
myself.
of a grammar school, first-class degree, Russell Group University. Maybe you qualify as a blue stocking. What do you think?
Well, I'd be interested to know if you describe yourself as a blue sock.
No, because I didn't go to a good university, and I didn't get a good degree. I'm a businessman, basically.
Right.
So you don't want me to call you a blue stocking?
I'd rather you didn't.
Okay.
Well,
Probably you don't know what we're talking about here, but
blue stocking sounds vaguely. No, I don't want to go there. Let's move on.
It's Victorian, really, the
Victorian.
phrase, or even earlier, I think.
What, even before the suffragettes?
Oh, well before.
Really?
Well, I'm asking about your aesthetic sympathies. Do you have any aesthetic sympathies, or are you coming from a certain school and approach, or where did you study?
At the Bartlett.
The Bartlett. Well, that signifies to me some kind of maybe stylistic approach that you.
I think the architects I would like are people like Sharoon. I'm interested in modern architecture, but modern architecture which is humane and not brutalist.
And coloured in gold and aluminium anodised panels, things
Not
like that.
necessarily.
But the library's all right.
Yes.
Okay.
Are we talking?
What about the British Library? Is that all right?
It's not one of my favourite buildings.
What's wrong with it?
I think the materials let it down, particularly the.
So the gold and aluminium, anodised aluminium, is better.
Yes, to me.
Right.
Not necessarily to everyone.
So you're a decorative architect. You like kind of.
No,
glitzy.
I like buildings.
Didn't you study a little bit of kind of interior design beforehand? Is that right, or is that another candidate? Sorry,
I think that's somebody else.
Somebody else. I'm sure. Oh, okay.
Don't you mention cushion scattering as a sort of vocation within your statement of experience in intent?
I don't think I ever used the term cushion scattering.
Do you think it's a pejorative term?
Yes,
Do you think
particularly when used by someone like yourself.
Well.
I think we'll leave it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, how did the exam questions go? Did you have a look at those?
Yeah, no, I presume you looked at them as well. Yeah, no, I mean, you were very good in the exam. You do tend to question the question, don't you? I mean, do you think that's an appropriate strategy when a client asks you to do something, you just tell them that they don't know what they're talking about in the nicest possible way?
Well, I think if the client doesn't know what they're talking about, they need to be advised of what the correct situation is so that they can make appropriate decisions.
So best practice is to tell them what's correct all the time?
Yes.
But don't you think that gets in the way of listening to them sometimes? I don't know if you feel this, that you presume you don't scold your clients and tell them they don't know what they're talking about. You just run with their
Well, I try to make them think that they've thought of the ideas, and in that way they kind of they warm themselves to the project.
Right.
Kind of get them involved in the decision-making process, but guide them gently. I would say guide them gently. Is it? So I don't know if there's a right or wrong. I mean, a client should never be wrong, should it? A client should be wrong.
Well, they can be wrong if they make erroneous assumptions about how the building contract might operate, for example, because if they're going to sign the contract, they need to be advised as to what it contains and what they're committing themselves to, I believe.
Well, we haven't got, the mark here is 80% on this exam paper. I don't think there's anything else we want to discuss about it. Is there any questions you want to ask us? What did you think of the course, by the way?
I was happy with the course. Yeah, I felt that the
worth
lecturer.
£2,500.
I think that's probably less than some other courses.
Yeah, but that's not an answer to the question. The question is, was it worth £2,500?
Yes, I think it was.
You're very irritating sometimes, aren't you?
Me?
Yeah, you don't answer the question.
I did answer the question.
No, you said you just compared it with other courses. You didn't say whether it was good value for money. Never mind. Any questions for us?
No.
Let's end on that.
Yes.
I think we've been a fantastic candidate.
Yeah.
Very good. I'm sure you'll pass.
Well, it's up to us actually. So
yes,
because the internal marks are fine. So I think well, we're not supposed to say anything at this point, but we think you're a very strong candidate. We'll put it that far, shall we? Yeah.
I'd like to say so, yes.
Yeah.
I'd like to, actually, I know you said you weren't interested in other places, but I mean, we're doing this amazing project. It's a school in Malta at the moment. And anyway, here's my card, okay?
Well, thank you very much, and I'm grateful for your time today.
Thank you very much.
Okay, well, it's been a pleasure.
Thank you very much, Candy. Good luck.
Even
You're
if
welcome.
It's somewhat irritating.
Thank you.